end of the year, and then we're going to go straight down to our modern. Oh no, this is not the modern. This is the Pioneer match, as we're going to see Rakdos Sacrifice versus Azorius Spirits. You're our Pioneer Master. Which one of these is favored at game one, good sir?
So I've played a lot of Rakdos Sacrifice. So it's weird because I typically thought that Rakdos Sacrifice was a pretty big favorite in this matchup. But if the Blue-Eyed Spirits player knows, if they know how to sequence their spells and they know what's going on in the matchup, I actually think that Spirits it's a lot closer than people may think it is. I still think Sacrifice is slightly ahead, but the combination of like Spell Queller being able to nab Mayhem Devil or Fable the Mirror Breaker and stuff like Rattle Chains to be able to protect from Claim the Firstborn, I think that Spirits has some game, but I do think I like Rakdos Sacrifice in the matchup overall.
Well, they are, realistically, they did the most powerful thing that they can do, and it's win the dice roll in Pioneer, right? Being able to get on the board early, get underneath it. We've got 2 threats on the battlefield now. One of them, what doesn't the card do? It's a kill spell. It puts things in the graveyard. It draws you cards. It does damage. It's we've seen this card do so much over the RC season, and just Spirits passing the turn back with 2 mana open doesn't mean they can't have anything, though. We know for a fact a lot of these cards can have flash, Rattle Chains for one of them, but a bit more damage is going to come across. And looking at the records, it looks like we have a semi pair down here. The 5/1 has to play.
Yeah, so this is, we talked about, we saw, Jung, Mullaly, and Harney on our players to watch leaderboard at 4-1 and 1. This is definitely a win and in. I can't imagine if that 5-1-1 they would miss, on breakers or something like that. But yeah, the 5-1s, the team on your right, the 5-1 team, unable to draw because they got the pair down. We see the first 3 turns of the game being played here, and not a single card played for Spirits except for some lands. Typically, the toughest starts, or the starts that are the toughest to beat from the Spirit side of things, are like the ones where you go 1 drop into enchantment. As we see a Spell Queller take care of a Fable, that's a good one.
Yeah, like to see it. Obviously, Spell Queller more of a tempo card. Now something like a Fatal Push Masters to take it out again. Just kind of, it's a domino effect, right? That's Spirits want to be going on the play. They want to be going turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, holding up this counter magic that we see. There's quite a few of them in hand now, and now we've got the flying threat. They're going to be able to cost a bit more, but there's 5 damage on the battlefield already. We're happy to trade Blood Harvest for the Spell Queller here.
Yeah, this is a big turn here for Owen. Really wants to see if we can find something like a Supreme Phantom to help change up the clock a little bit, as there is the Supreme Phantom, or potentially a Curious Obsession so we can start drawing cards with the Spell Queller. Unfortunately for Owen, does not have that. And the Blood Scythe Harvester, there's only one, or the blood actually gets sacrificed, I believe. So no blood in play for the Harvester to be able to fuel. But maybe you see something like Mayhem Devil, and which is in Theo's hand as well. Although has to be a little bit worried about counter spells. Is aware of the presence of stuff like Lofty Denial, Geistlight Snare, which Owen is representing here.
So chat's asking, yes, this will be a cut to top 8. So this is a winning in. 8 teams are going to advance. That 8, they're going to be battling out, see which team is going to be able to walk away with all the prize money, get themselves to the finals. But that's a lot more matches got to be played before then, as we're going to see the Spell Queller is going to get stolen. It's going to turn sideways.
And we see a Claim the Firstborn here for Theo Jung. And I believe, unless I'm not mistaken, I think there was multiple copies of Lofty Denial, but we did not want to fight over we didn't want to fight over the Claim the Firstborn with... Interesting.
I was about to say, talk me through that, because obviously there's a lot of sacrifice effects, right? As part of the cost, you have to sacrifice it. Things like Deadly Dispute are in the deck. So
right,
if you're not fighting over that, I suppose, is it pay an extra 3 or 4 mana? That's probably also would help us.
Lofty is pay an extra 4 if you control a creature with flying, which we did have online, and Theo did not play the land before playing the Claim the Firstborn. So I wonder if there's some mind games going on where Theo purposely didn't play the land first to try to incentivize the Lofty Denial so we could resolve something like a Mayhem Devil, which is the last card in Theo's hand. And that may be why Theo didn't play the land first, because he was like, okay, well, if you counter my Claim the Firstborn, then I get to resolve Mayhem Devil. And we actually see Owen not fall for the bait, didn't counter the Claim the Firstborn, and Theo did not go for the Mayhem Devil, instead pick up Giganta.
That's Giganta going to hand there. Maybe we're running out of gas a little bit on the left of your side here for Theo, but it gives an opening here for Owen to try and, kind of re-establish the battlefield. We see the powerful enchantment about to come down. That one is, remind me of it, a Curious Obsession.
Curious Obsession, yeah.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Beautiful little 1-drop goes on, but it does mean we need to start turning this sideways. And the good thing is there's not too much happening on the other side of the battlefield, right? Like there's a couple of 1/1s, which potentially, obviously, if they die, then that's where they start getting their value chain. But at the minute when your opponent's putting Giganta in hand, you kind of smell a little bit of hope, should we say?
Yeah, this is a tough turn here for Owen. It's going to go ahead and tap out for a Catilda. Now, Owen had the option to potentially hold up stuff like Lofty Denial or go ahead and tap out for the Catilda. Owen, recognizing that with the life total very low, really wants to get this life linker onto the battlefield to help preserve life total and figures, okay, well, if I can survive this one turn, if I get to untap with Catilda, we can start to turn the corner because of the life link and, correctly identified that specific spot, excuse me, and appears that may be getting rewarded for it because if Theo can't kill this turn, it's going to be a real uphill battle here for Theo.
So we do have a fatal push in hand. I think it's a Mayhem Devil and another land. Is there a way that we kind of like sacrifice our guy, no value, turn on the fatal push, or I suppose it's just best to attack, but then the life linker. A lot of options here.
Yeah, so what you could do is you could sacrifice the Blood Tithe Harvester for no value, fatal push the Catilda, but then you only have 2 1/1s left. One gets blocked, and Owen would go to 2. You would get a Unlucky Witness trigger, or well, actually, you could Mayhem Devil first. You can go Mayhem Devil, sacrifice the Harvester, ping Owen for 1, put Owen to 2, fatal push the Catilda, force a block on the Witness to get the trigger. So actually, I think that might be what Theo's doing here.
Yeah, I was thinking that sort of line, and you basically tap top of your deck, hope you've got something on there, maybe another sacrifice effect, cookbook, etc. would be pretty good. But even something just like the Cauldron Familiar would be able to do this last point of damage.
Yep. Yeah, and this is a forced block, so Owen does not have a choice, given that he's a 2 life, and like you said, a lot of outs here for Theo.
Oh no! Oh yeah, we can play the land, right?
I don't think we played a land this turn.
Oh yeah, then that's as long as all the damage is going upstairs.
Oh, but you only get to play 1 card off the Witness. Right, so they choose if you play the land, then you can't play the Dispute, and Theo didn't have a land, given that the last card's Giganta.
Oh, and okay, you love it. But on his last legs here, trying to get it going across. 16 damage is a lot to do, especially with only 2 creatures on the battlefield. Not sure if we're going to be able to do this. But no, on the other side of the battlefield, there are only 1 card in hand, and we know what that is. It's in a blue sleeve. It is Giganta.
It's not, not the best spot to be in when facing at 1 life, facing down a Mayhem Devil. I don't think I'd like being in that position from Owen's side.
There's no ways to get that off the battlefield. There's no what's the one I'm thinking of? Skyclave Apparitions in the main. Doesn't look like there is.
The sideboard.
So Otawara is the one way. I suppose we could have like slip out the back. You kind of fade it out for a turn, or maybe.
Yeah,
but that's not ideal. We're clutching at straws here. We're really clutching at straws, being at 1 life, Mayhem Devil on the battlefield, and there's a 1/1 on the other side that potentially you want to die. So you're going to turn that sideways. It's going to have to be blocked.
Yeah, I think we're writing down. We're doing some math here for Owen, trying to figure out what is so basically Owen's in a spot where we have to fade a draw step from Theo. We have to put Theo on a 2-turn clock and leave enough blockers back. I don't know if we can do all of that stuff, but it would involve yeah, that's a good point. Although we need a second white source that doesn't deal us damage, and I believe we have a what's the pain land, the Dark Waste, which we cannot tap for white mana currently, given that we're on 1 life.
I love it. Okay, so a lot of options in hand, but maybe not enough. Not to do anything. So we got counter magic. We could, I say that we want to attack, or we have to attack. Obviously, enchantment falls off, but realistically, we want to attack while it's got life link, right? To kind of up our life total a little bit.
Yeah,
we need 2 blockers. So much going on.
Trying to get a good look at Owen's hand. We know about the 2 Lofty Denials. Looks like there is a Supreme Phantom, and I think I saw another copy of the Curious Obsession, which. That's probably not going to change the race that much. So we're going to get an attack for 3 here, put Theo to 13, and then I guess fade a draw step and hope that we can deal 13 next turn. We do have a counter spell.
That's spell quell off the top. Again, not. We're just going for it. Okay, so we're going to be able to block / tap down, big draw step. Easy off the top. Was there any question we're going to get that sacrifice off the top? Okay, looks like we're going to move to our modern table while these players start shuffling up. We have got Azorius Control versus Jeskai Breach. Okay, we're going to see some rings, I imagine, getting cast in this game.
Yeah, there's one in play.
Well, there you go. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't lying. I don't lie to you, chat. I don't lie to you. Both sides, I imagine, have got this in the main. And there, as I say, another ring comes down. We're going to see the full power of this card and how it is almost taking over Modern, so to speak. I'm a big believer in Modern can kind of level itself out at times. Sometimes, obviously, not so much. Hodak and the Drowsy Winters, exceptions, I suppose. But do you think we're in one of those sort of eras, or do you think we're just early in the format? We found a really good card. and there's a few more sleepers kind of sitting around, like, who could, like Fable.
Yeah,
6 weeks ago, we thought Fable was one of the best cards in Modern. Now Ring's
right.
floating around.
Yeah, we probably need a little bit more time to figure it out. I mean, obviously the card is extremely powerful. It's going in a lot of different decks, but we'll have to see how it shakes out at the Pro Tour here. We do see both players on the ring, and this is an Azorius control deck here from Jordan. Maybe not the traditional Azorius that you're used to, given you'll see the Sacred Foundry and the Zagoth Triumph in play. This is actually more so like the McWinsauce list that has been doing well on Magic Online recently, which is Azorius control featuring Renin 6 and, you guessed it, Omnath. So it's not like a traditional 4-color deck, because it does still have counter spells, which the more traditional 4-color decks don't have copies of. So this is more of a control deck, but it's still splashing for Renin 6 and Omnath, because those cards just work so well with the ring. Like Omnath being able to gain you life to make it so you're not die to your own ring, and we just see rings back and forth. It's rings everywhere, Will.
I feel like we're gonna see this quite a lot, right? Like, especially in the breach deck, we were able to reoccur it, kind of go through. The idea, realistically, is we want to kind of mill ourselves out. So the longer this game goes, kind of, does it play into their favor, or is it like they kind of need to get that combo shooting early, and we know that over on Jordan's side, so we're just going to kind of hold up our counter magic and wait for that one big turn where they try to go off. Essentially, rings, they're not free. 8 life,
right?
3 counters on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, the ring usually finds you a second copy of the ring. So even if Jordan Jordan can kind of sit on this one for a little bit, eventually just find a second copy to kind of reset it. It looks like there is a second copy in Jordan's hand. But Connor does, I believe, let me take a look at Connor's deck list. I want to see how many lightning bolts we have. It looks like 0 copies. So we're not playing lightning bolts. We're just playing the 4 unholy heats. So it doesn't have any way to kind of go direct burn. But, an Underworld Breach is still probably lethal, given how the stock graveyard here for Connor.
Well,
but
off the top.
Yeah. It might not be actually lethal this turn, because I don't know if there's a copy of Grinding Station, and that's kind of the card that we're setting up here. We want to be able to go Underworld Breach with the Grinding Station in play, along with a Mox Amber. I believe that's a Mox Amber in Connor's hand, which he just deployed. So maybe just missing the Grinding Station part of that is we see a Ragavan dashed.
Yep, and then it looks like now we've got the legendary on the permanent. It turns on the amber, and we are going to see the breach come down. If they start going through the loop, I will ask you, but you were fetching in response, which makes me think we've got a answer to this. So just quickly, I wanted to touch on the ring and why it's a legendary permanent. It's 4-drop. Why is everyone playing 4 copies of this? Normally, it's not good to play 4 copies of a legendary card, but it's almost the value of playing 4 is so good at this card, right?
Yeah, the fact that it's legendary makes it even better, because you could just, like, if it wasn't legendary and you had to keep the other copies of it, it would arguably be a much worse card, because you wouldn't be able to kind of reset the ring, which is the reason the legend rule is so powerful, is because, like we mentioned, in spots like this where Jordan has a ring on 3, is worried about taking damage from it. Once you play a second copy of the ring, you can keep the new one, and that essentially resets the burden counter, so you're not losing as much life. So it's arguably better that it is legendary. And I think the reason that just there's so many decks playing it is the combination of buying yourself a turn from the 1 turn of protection that you get, plus the amount of cards. The biggest thing is, as commentators, as Mason talked about earlier, the biggest thing is you're drawing the cards before you're losing the life. So you're drawing a card, you're losing life next turn. You're drawing 2, you're losing 2 next turn. So you're always getting the cards before the life loss, which is the biggest part of this card.
So why we were talking about the ring, and again how powerful that card is. A big turn that happened. Counter spell was on the breach, and then the Solitude managed to take out and exile the Ragavan. As we're now going to start playing multiple rings, reset that back down. No counters on there. We are at 2 life, but and it's not open deck list, so we don't know that there are no lightning bolts on the other side. There's a chance that because they've been playing on the top tables, they might know each other. They might have seen what people are playing, etc. As another counter spell is going to take out another breach being played. So I think we're all caught up. We've got the Chalice on 1. That's probably pretty problematic. Let's see how many 1-drops are in the main.
It's interesting.
Crazy amount.
It's interesting because the Chalice on 1 doesn't necessarily stop the infinite combo. So for those of you who don't know, the combo here where Connor is trying to set up is Underworld Breach plus Grinding Station plus Mox Amber plus a legend. It can either be an Emery or a Ragavan, and that essentially mills your entire deck. And the Chalice on 1 doesn't necessarily stop the combo from happening.
I'm being told, chat, that we can go back to the Pioneer match if we want. Let me know in chat if you want us to stick here, see how this one concludes, as we see a third breach being cast and looks like it's resolving. So maybe we're going to actually see some sort of crazy win here. Or do you want us to go back to the Azorius Spirits versus Sacrifice? It's your call. You've got about a minute before that decision gets made.
Well, it's funny because I was going to say that this game was basically over given how ahead Jordan was, but there's another World Breach that's resolved. So we should probably stay on this one at least for a little bit because this game is, probably not too far away from concluding. But we see a breach resolve. Connor is going to go ahead and draw a bunch of cards here. Well, maybe it is a little bit far away from concluding.
Well, chat's doing the classic thing when I say, "Do you want to stay at Modern or Pioneer?" They're all saying Legacy. So
True.
never
Can't trust chat.
Never do it. But it looks like it was just kind of like a value type of breach. But we know that that's just while we've been here in this short time. That's the third one. So this is game one. No slide was happening. We can see that at the bottom of the screen. Obviously, Theo and Chad are both up a game for their team, so potentially they're going to end up finishing this match before this game even comes to a conclusion. So I don't know if we want to stay here and see how this goes. Remember, we've got the ring going to Fairy's now going to be able to reset that. It's going to be a bit of a slugfest going back and forth.
And here's the other thing with the ring. And not only can you legend rule to keep the new copy of the ring to reset the counters, Teferi Time Raveler also does an incredible job at just picking up the ring and resetting those burden counters.
I think the emphasis is on staying on this match. Okay, so we'll stay at this match.
We'll
see how this game one pans out. It's kind of it's getting spicy. 2 life. It's like we're really close. We're just that too far away. I have lost a lot of games to my opponent at 1 life. Let's be honest. It happens to the best of us, but potentially the ring will be able to tempt us a little bit too much. Or maybe Emery could be that lethal threat that we didn't talk about because it does have a little bit of power to it as it's going to build the top 4 cards. That's going to be a breach. And hey, look, I've won through Dried Arbor, Noble Hierarch Beast. I'm an Infect player. There's all sorts of different ways to win in that deck. I'm not saying that this Emery is out of possibility as we see a prismatic ending taken out chance. This is interesting because we said there's not many 1-drops besides from I suppose Ragavan, Unholy Heat, Spell Pierces.
That would lead me to believe that Connor might have a copy of Unholy Heat, and that's why we wanted to take the Chalice so we can kill the Teferi. So it looks like, this is just a Thassa's Oracle. Interesting. Okay.
Just a little scry action. You know what I mean? We've got 3 blue mana pips, so we do get to look at the top 3. And I kind of like this. And talk to me if normally you think this is the finisher, right? We got to keep this secure. We can't have this being countered. We can't have this die. Why are we playing it now and kind of leaving it open to potentially a removal spell?
Well, Connor doesn't really have a choice given that there's the ring in play. Jordan is just accumulating so much card advantage, and Connor really just has to try and find. I mean, if you look at Jordan's at 2 and there's 2 power in play, that's mostly why Connor probably cast it. But even in the event where Connor does eventually need it to combo, you can actually, like, if it goes to the graveyard, you can recast it with Breach, and if it somehow stays in play, then you can pick it up with Aether Spellbomb. It looks like that's a Supreme Verdict, which, but yeah, I think the biggest reason that Connor wanted to cast it there is just the fact that it has 1 power with Jordan at 2.
So that's going to bring on to my next question. What we have I can see Leyline Bindings in the hand, so we have options to actually exile it. Why are we not exiling it? Why are we giving them the chance to bring it back with a Breach?
So
is there a reason behind that, or just
you probably want to save the Leyline Binding for something like the last copy of Underworld Breach, because we did say, I believe that Connor's gone through 3 breaches, so I think there's still 1 left. So if you say Leyline Binding of Thassa's Oracle and save the Verdict in hand and Connor draws a breach, then you don't have a clean answer at instant speed for that breach. So that's why we want to use the Verdict there.
Okay, interesting. As we're gonna pass the turn back, untap lots of the mana being tapped here for a
yep.
Here we come. We're gonna start gaining that life back.
Yeah, this is probably going to close the door here for Jordan. There was kind of a window where Connor was like, okay, well, maybe my opponent's going to maybe my opponent will die to their own ring, but the life gain from Omnath going to easily offset that.
Okay, right, we're going to move across to the Pioneer matchup, see if we can get in here. Looks like a lot of Mayhem Devils on the battlefield, but also a couple of Spirits. Only 1 card in hand for both players. We are shuffling. I'm not sure what all the looks like we're shuffling tokens. Yeah, I do love it when players come with their own token.
It looks like what happened here is looks like a Portable Hole in Witch's Oven. Looks like we Mausoleum Wanderer to Thoughtseize, we Lofty Denial of the Witch's Oven, and somehow 2 Mayhem Devils resolved. That doesn't usually happen against Spirits, but in any case, 2 Mayhem Devils resolved. Not the best spot for Spirits to be in.
Especially we've got a treasure token on the battlefield. So again, an instant way if we need to sacrifice that, do 2 points of damage. Not quite enough to get rid of that the free toughness here of the, I can't remember the name of it. Spell Queller, thank you. And it doesn't really matter. We've
Oh
got the Fatal
boy.
Push, but we've got a way to protect it. Love it. Love to see it. So we're going to give it hexproof. All our spirits now gain flash, but we are empty-handed.
So Theo's gonna, Theo goes for Fatal Push. Rattle Chains does protect the Spell Queller, pretty good for Owen here. And then we're gonna go ahead and sacrifice the treasure token, I believe, to kill the Rattle Chains. Probably not enough here for the Spirits player, and that is going to do it. Theo advancing 2-0.
Okay, well, let's see if we have a little look on the legacy match. Let's see how that one's getting along. You know, people in the chat asking for that one. It looks like they're just drawing the opening 7. Perfect timing, some people would say, Devin.
Yeah, excellent timing. We'd love to see that.
Okay, so talk to me. Like, I know the Jeskai Delver. I know what that one does. Talk to me about this breakfast deck. Well, like to me, breakfast, that's going to happen for me in about 7 hours.
Full English breakfast?
Yeah, a big full English. Give me that bacon sausage, black pudding. You know what I mean? Give me all of that. But I imagine they're not playing. They haven't sleeved up a bit of black pudding here. Talk to me about this deck.
So I cannot tell you why it's called breakfast. I don't know the origin of where the name came from, but what I can tell you is the combo here is we are trying to assemble Shuko, and let me see if I can remember the name of the card. It's been a while. It's called Cephalid Illusionist. So Cephalid Illusionist is a card that says whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability, you mill 3 yourself. You mill yourself for 3. Shuko is an artifact that has an equip cost of 0. So basically, the joke is you assemble those 2 cards, mill your entire library, which eventually flips over 3 Narcomoebas, a Dread Return, and a Thassa's Oracle. You sacrifice the 3 Narcomoebas, Dread Return the Thassa's Oracle, then your opponent dies because you have no cards in your library. That's the combo that we're trying to assemble here.
I'm trying to picture why it's called breakfast, and it literally makes 0 sense to me. So if anyone's got any insights to that, please let me know. I was kind of hoping for like a card called Sausage or something, you know, eggs and bacon from one of the crazy sets that has been released in more recent times. But no, we're just going to start doing what we see Delver do, turning burning through our deck a little bit, playing these Mishra's Baubles.
And this is the Jeskai Delver, very similar to the list that we saw on camera last round, featuring copies of the new card Fourth Airlingus. Seems like a lot of Delver players are kind of gravitating towards that as their card advantage spell of choice, and for good reason. That card is incredibly powerful, as we saw on camera last round.
Chat's telling me that there was a deck called Full English Breakfast, and then it evolved.
See, I knew there was.
And then called Breakfast. I wish I was playing that time in Magic. That sounds sick. I do remember all the old names of what did we used to call? Was it Tricks? Like American Control and stuff like that? Was it called back in the
Team
day?
America. No, you know what's funny? Team America was not actually a Jeskai deck; it was a Sultai deck.
Classic.
Explain that. I don't know why, but
don't ask questions. Just accept it. It's fine. As we're going to fetch up a basic islands again, a nice one of this is the Unhinged.
Yeah, I believe.
Do like basics. I think I would. I don't know which ones I'd play in Legacy if I was going to play them. It's got to be a nice one.
Guru, I thought.
Oh no! If I had Guru, you know what I mean. I'm not that much of a baller. I normally stick to like a secret lair. If I need a lot of basics, it'll be Urza Saga because that's the set I sort of started in. And then if I need like 1 or 2, it's going to be like Unglued or something along those lines.
You know what I've been a really big fan of is kind of the new, whatever the new one said. I don't know if it's unsanctioned or whatever the newest one is, the one with the space stuff. I actually have a few of those basics. Those are nice.
Oh yeah. It's the way that Wizards know how to get my money. Like you can release a really bad set, but the basics are beautiful in it. And I'm like, guess I'm buying it then. Let's go.
Just hits different, you know.
I'm a little bit upset with the Lord of the Rings set. That it doesn't actually make a full map if you put them all together, though. It's all like all dotted around. But you know that's just me. That's how we go. As we're going to start fetching up here, this is going to be a Tundra coming into play, giving us a bit of blue, a white mana.
No surgical on Volcanic Island this time, Will.
Well, hold your breath, good sir. Let's. I'm now looking at a deck list, really hoping for a surgical, but it doesn't look like we've got one. Okay.
There's 2 in the sideboard, but I cannot imagine you would bring in surgical against Delver. Well, given that there's no wastelands either, so probably off the table. But yeah, we see a lot, like you mentioned, a lot of the. I don't know what stage of the game you want to call this in Legacy, but this is kind of the first 2 turns where players are casting like 3 or 4 cantrips, 3 or 4 Mistress Baubles, and doing like cracking 5 fetch lands. There's usually like that 5 minutes of time before the game actually starts. So now that we've passed that point in this game, now we can actually get started.
I call it the durdling time.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I mean?
fair.
It's like they're just turning about and kind of sculpting their hands, going back and forth. You know, I'm looking for counter magic, I'm looking for like lands. We see we've got a couple of lands in hand here, a couple of forces of me going on in there. Basically, we want to try and protect this Delver. If I believe, you know, that is our line to win here. Do you know how this kind of matchup usually goes? Obviously, game one went to Chad here, so I'm guessing it was kind of favored game one, but at post sideboard is the kind of favorite.
It's tough. I would typically take the Jeskai Delver side of things, just given the presence of the free counter magic, the Wastelands, which I guess Chad appears to, Chad is aware of the Wastelands, is playing around them, did fetch a
Mm-hmm.
basic island here, not cracking the Scalding Tarn. But the combination of removal spells, days, force of will, fast clock in the form of Flip Delver, I would have to imagine that Delver is a favorite. But the card that really throws a wrench into all of this, which never mind, I'm not going to mention that because that card's not in Chad's deck list. I was going to say Urza Saga. Some of these breakfast decks do have that
Oh
card.
no, he's got Urza Sagas.
Oh, they're in the. I always do that. They put them in the enchantment, and I'm looking at the lands, and I just forget to look at the enchantment. So yeah, 3 Urza
No,
Sagas.
he's got 3 of them. Yeah, and again, another card that we've seen just when it was first spoiled. I don't think anyone of us really understood really what this card could do, and then over time, we all started losing to it and going, "Oh, this card's actually really good. Not crazy powerful, but again, really good card from the Modern Horizon sets that kind of changed formats. Let's be honest, that was the reason those sets were released, and it changed formats for good or for worse. That's up for debate. But I really like how Travis is holding this Wasteland. I like how
Yeah.
Chad's been playing around it, and also like how Travis has been holding it, kind of using it almost as a spell more than a land.
Right, and as we just talked about, Urza Saga is one of the more important cards in this matchup because we talked about the counter spells that Travis has access to. Travis is able to kind of like time the counter spells and keep Chad off of the combo pieces. The card that lets you play around counter spells and generates threats is Urza Saga because it can't be countered. It generates 2 massive constructs, and that's exactly what Travis is saving that Wasteland for.
So do you see Travis obviously brainstorming, keeps putting that days back on top, which we know about. That's the one that flipped the first Delver. It's now flipped the second Delver. So not giving away any more information than we need to. Kind of losing its effect currently, but Delver, days can always be a thing, as we're going to see as swords come down here.
Love that swords, by the way. That's the Judge promo one. It's a beautiful one.
Do you own any decks fully foiled?
No, I'm actually not really that big of a fan of foils.
I just think it makes me like, I feel like I'm a better player if my deck's fully foiled. Like that I've just got that weird mentality. I own
That's fair.
both variants of Infect in Modern. So unfortunately, the deck's not playable, but I do own them in foil. So here we are. And as I said, if I sit down against opposite someone playing Legacy and the deck's fully foiled, I know I'm in for a bad time. As
Yeah.
Chad has got, it looks like a lot of beautiful foils going on in this deck.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be fighting over the Swords to Plowshares on the Delver of Secrets. Travis, interesting, kind of recognizing that maybe. Okay, there's another Force of Will I was going to say. Typically, you wouldn't want to fight over a removal spell here if you didn't have another Force of Will and a Flusterstorm. So if we do a quick spell count check, that's the Force, the Brainstorm, the Plow, and the Fluster. So yeah, not enough mana to pay.
Yeah, but in the end, we just let it resolve, sure, and then we're just going to use the days, return our land to our hand. They don't have the extra land open. We now get to play our land drop for the turn, which is that Wasteland, taking out Tundra on the other side. Just a force of me and a land left in hand.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We talked about how Travis was holding that Wasteland for so long, but given the current situation with Chad at 9, the Delvers are going to kill Chad before the Saga is really doing anything anyway. So just recognizing that is going to fire off the Wasteland here.
Okay, this is one we kind of I've done a few legacy events now. I've seen this card pop up more and more and more. Staff of the Storyteller. Why are we seeing this appear in Legacy?
I'm going to be completely honest with you, Will. This is the first time I've ever read this card. So we got one on a white
Oh,
artifact. When it enters the battlefield, make a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. Whenever you create one or more creature tokens, put a story counter on it, and then you can pay a white tap, remove a story counter, draw a card. So this card is particularly powerful with cards like Urza Saga, because Urza Saga generating tokens will go ahead and put counters onto this. And it seems like it's just a very good card advantage engine in these kinds of decks that have other ways to make tokens. Sometimes you see it along with Retrofit or Foundry as well.
okay, and we're going to swing across for lethal here. Swords is going to be able to get countered by a force of me, ditching a force of me. So being able to level it up there, Jeskai, Delbert, Travis, fighting one back for their team. I suppose we move across to the modern table and see how they're getting on. We've got Azorius Control versus Jeskai Breach, and it looks like our rings just entered the battlefield. So let's strap in for this one, ladies and gentlemen. But a lot more happening on the other side. It looks like we've got an Emery, we've got an Amber, and a Urza Saga that we were just speaking about in this format.
Yeah, and we see, game one, we saw Jordan kind of handily take advantage with the ring going unchecked for so many turns, and Connor was unable to find his own copy of ring. We are potentially maybe in a spot where that similar thing is going to happen, although Connor does have quite a bit of cards in hand. It is going to go for a breach with an Amber and Emery in play. Maybe has a grinding station setting up for lethal.
No, here comes a force negation, ditch and counter spell. That's going to get exiled. That is not going to resolve. But it does give us the option with Emery to bring back a bauble. We're just going to straight crack it. I love the just tap it from the graveyard. I'm playing this and cracking it straight away, looking at my top card. Because we do have a fetch land. This is something we see quite a lot in Modern. Talk me through this. Why am I baubling myself?
So with the fetch land, what you can do is you can take a peek at your top card with Mishra's Bauble. If it's a card that you want, you can choose to not fetch, or if it's a card that you don't want, you can go ahead and crack that fetch land to get a fresh draw, given that the Mishra's Bauble does draw an extra card on the following upkeep.
A nice little scry effect there, as we're going to see a temptation counter go on the ring. We're going to draw one more card, and then we're going to draw the card which we left on top of our deck because we didn't shuffle it, so we wanted that one for the turn over on Connor's side. How can we do start moving forward here on Jordan? He's going to start off by drawing some cards.
It's usually a good place to start. Just go ahead and tap your ring. When in
how's
doubt, tap it.
Double Teferi off the top. I think we're missing land drops here.
Yeah, we just got a bunch of rings here. I think I saw 2 more rings in Jordan's hand.
So obviously, ring gives us protection from everything, right?
Mhm.
Like for the turn, as long as we've hard cast it. But over on the Jeskai Breach side, their combo doesn't. Their combo gets round this, right? Fast as Oracle gets round this. So now we're tapped out. Potentially, we've got like almost an opening, if you would call it that. Do you like playing just firing it off and making them have it, or do you like to play it kind of safe? Two different sort of players in the world.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it depends on the rest of your hand. If you have cards like, if you're looking at like this specific situation in Jordan's spot, because Jordan was missing land drops, really wanted to deploy the second ring, although not activating it main phase, maybe a little bit worried about the life total, given the fact that we're at 9. But yeah, I mean, also like if Jordan doesn't really have any ways of stopping a breach, like no copies of Leyland Binding or counter spells, then maybe you just feel pressured into tapping out for the ring. But you do bring up a good point. The fact that Thassa's Oracle getting around that protection from everything means that, if Connor can assemble the breach combo, we don't really care about that protection.
That's going to be a Springleaf Drum, I think. Got off Urza's Saga. And now we're going to play our own Teferi. We're going to now tap the ring in response. Oh, and we draw the Force Negation off the top. Perfect top deck there to deal with that.
Yeah.
We'll have a temptation counter. There it is. Thank you very much.
Love to see that, and that's like you asked a good question last turn. It's like, do you want to tap out, or are you afraid of stuff? Well, if you have Force negation, you don't have to worry. We don't have to be worried about anything.
And we're going to see another ring come down on the opposite side of the battlefield, get tapped straight away. Emery's going to bring back this bauble again. We're going to look at our top card, but we don't have the option of fetching here. We're just going to kind of use. Okay, I lied. I'm going to wind it all back in as we play the fetch land, but it does look like we want to keep that on top.
Yep, and now we see the ring on ring violence. Both players have ring. Both players going to start activating, and both players going to draw a whole bunch of cards. Well, we see a binding here. That's going to go ahead and answer Connor's ring. Never mind.
I'm gonna, this is a question that I didn't think I would ever have to ask anybody that plays Magic the Gathering, but good old Corey makes me ask this now. You have seen all the Lord of the Rings, haven't you, Devin?
Well, I did like a long time ago when I was like 12 or 13, but I don't remember anything from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was too long ago. I'm an old
Well,
man, Will.
let's not get into age. I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, but um,
Sure.
I watched it 10 times, the very first one in the cinema, and then
Wow.
once at Glastonbury in the rain. That's the sort of level of
Okay.
fandom that I'm at. Just make it all, just flinging another rat ring out there. Don't worry about it. I love the also when I cast the card fling. I also love just throwing that at my opponent, as it looks like we have a wear and tear on the ley lines bind. This is a pseudo way of resetting your ring, I suppose. Let them binding it and then dealing with it this way.
Yeah, this
So
is just so funny. We're just having ring fights. So we had a binding on Connor's ring. Then we played another ring, and Connor's going to respond and kill the binding to get back his ring. It's just ring on ring on ring on ring violence.
we also got Corey in the chat. I know I love that Corey, he's literally about to cast the Pro Tour, Lord of the Rings, and he's like, I've never watched Lord of the Rings, but he has just finished it and he loves them, and he did it the right way and watched all the extended editions straight off the bat. So, hats off to him. And we knew he'd be watching. Let's be honest, it's his deck on screen right now. He loves Jeskai Breach. He's been doing super well with this. And he loved, let's be honest. I don't know how his event went today, but I'm sure we'll find out on Twitter later on. Might not be, maybe he's watched us in between rounds. As grinding station is going to come down, is this going to resolve? That is going to be, we're
Wow.
kind of showing the combo, right? We've got 0 mana artifacts, we've got the grinding station, we've got the Emery, and I think we're going to be leveling up and we're going to get to game 3 there. But let's see if we can move across to our legacy match, see how that one's going across here. Well, one player's got no lands. That's good.
Looks like we're resolving a fetch land.
Yeah.
But we see the staff here for Chad. That's the card that we talked about last game. So Chad on the play, the Cephalid breakfast deck again we talked about, really trying to assemble the Cephalid Illusionist plus Shuko. Does have Urza Saga to provide additional threats as well. And Travis is the Jeskai Delver deck, really trying to establish an early threat, which it does not look like Travis has right now.
No, but it does have a surgical in hand, I must say. And here comes a daze. That's going to counter that. We're going to pick up our land, which is kind of a nice thing, right? It doesn't give away that we're missing land drops potentially because we're picking our land back up. And especially that brainstorm is really going to help off the top to try and kind of fix our future draws if we want to go that route as we recast it and just pass the turn back.
Yeah, Travis likely wants to hold this brainstorm for one additional draw step to get the most amount of looks trying to find a fetch land, because you could see in a spot like this where if Travis cast the brainstorm now, doesn't find a land, then would be brainstorm locked, as we like to call it, has to draw the next 2 cards. And an Urza Saga here and another copy of Story. Now, the nice thing about this for Chad, we talked about how Chad's deck is a combo deck, but you see here an Urza Saga and a Staff. Those are both threats that don't necessarily involve being part of the combo. It's just threats that Chad gets to put onto the battlefield, make Travis answer them, and then eventually maybe follow that up with the combo down the road.
There was no line that we should have kind of surgicaled in upkeep or something, to potentially hit extra copies of this, right? That's not why we were bringing the surgicals in. And are we brainstorm locked?
I did not see a land. Yeah, I saw a bauble, but no lands here for Travis.
We do have the counter spell, though. I think that's what we were actually digging for, right? We're trying to find some sort of answer for this while it's on the stack. We do see a Force of Me. Looks like that's going to stay in hand along with a Daze, but we do have the open mana, so potentially Daze is the card that's going to be ditched. We'll see how this plays out. But, really putting value on these staffs.
Right. Yeah. Typically, so the surgical extraction, I think Travis wanted to save that for specifically the combo turn. As we mentioned, the combo involves putting 3 copies of Narcomoeba in the graveyard. So I believe that's why the surgicals came in, and is potentially holding it for that, as we see a force fighting over the Story, and Travis recognizing that Travis is currently kind of getting buried here. We can't really just let one of those threats resolve. Normally you'd want to save that for the combo pieces, but doesn't really have that luxury right now.
We do have a bauble, so it's going to a slightly quicker way to get us out from this brainstorm lock, potentially, if we do manage to find ourselves some more cantrips or land. But we're just straight up passing the turn back, giving Chad that knowledge that we are missing our land drops as this Urza Saga goes up to 2. And again, these tokens, the way this sort of kind of pans out, we could just see the Urza Saga kind of run away with it. And they're not going crazy on Chad's side, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just tuning in, this is a team event. They are talking to their teammates here. They're not just going crazy and talking out loud. We've got 3 players on each team, 1 in Pioneer, 1 in Modern, 1 in Legacy. And this is a winning in for the top 8, which we'll be bringing you straight after this match resolves.
Chad's hand is just all gas, too. It looks like another copy of Brainstorm and another copy of Urza Saga. My goodness, just going to be able to put so much pressure on the Travis, even without that combo. We talked about typically the Delver deck is good at like being able to race the combo. You play an early threat and kind of back that up with the permission. But when you don't have that early threat, you're giving the combo deck so much time to set up and find these alternate win conditions, and that's exactly how this game is playing out.
Woof. Vital land off the top there. Tundra is going to be able to give us our second land and also our third color. So turn on that swords in case these constructs start coming out, because they do get big. Multiple sagas do get constructs pretty big and they can end the game pretty quickly. But we're just going to cast a big old Murktide. If my math's right, it's going to be grow by 3. So it'll be a 6/6. Let's see if the dice. Oh,
Yep.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
You're on another level, Will. On another level.
I'm an insect player and they go up to 10. That's it.
Typically, removal spells, you would normally associate removal spells being good in spots like this, but specifically Urza Saga, because it generates so many threats, one for one removal is not really the best way to answer this copy of these Urza Sagas. And these are just going to keep churning out constructs every single turn. It's going to be really hard for Travis to keep up.
How about a $400 Swords to Plowshare taking out that Murktide there? Love to see it. As we now got the Urza Sagas kind of triggering, they're deciding, do they want to make a construct here or do they want to float the mana? This is kind of one of the like unique things that we see from these sagas. Usually things happen in upkeep in the past. Now sagas, it happens in our main phase, so we are able to float mana.
Yeah, assuming that my eyes don't deceive me, I believe there was a copy of Cephalid Illusionist in Chad's hand, so potentially could have gone for the kill there, where you just go floated mana, go get the Shuko off of the Urza Saga, tap the Tundra, play the Cephalid Illusionist, and then go for the kill. But I think that Chad recognizes that he doesn't really have to do that. He's just winning the board very easily with these 3 construct tokens. So doesn't feel the need to go for the combo kill when these constructs are just going to race Travis anyways.
Yeah, as you said, like the 1-for-1 removals doesn't line up great, and if that's even still in the deck moving forwards, and as we see, these constructs are going to go to a 3/3. That's not too shabby. 24 life on the other side. Remember, there is a slight downside to swords, right? There's a slight downside. The opponent does get to gain a little bit of life, but
A little bit.
these constructs are going to do their best to try and chip away at that as 3 damage comes across. Draw step, another Murktide. Not great once we've just emptied our graveyard.
Yeah, that Travis is really looking for something like the Channelers or the Delver of Secrets, because, like you said, the Murktide region kind of off the table. We got a couple of removal spells and a cantrip. I mean, you probably have to fire off the Brainstorm and try and find, I don't even know what we're looking for here, some ways to clean up multiple Saga tokens. Like if we look at Travis's sideboard, there is a copy of Meltdown. So that is a potential card that could have came in, where Meltdown being able to destroy each artifact with total mana value X or less for X and a red. So that would be able to blow up multiple constructs. But outside of that, it's just all 1-for-1 removal.
Yeah, it's almost like they're basically missing those land drops are really punishing us here. That means we kind of got to fight our way back into this. These constructs potentially again next turn are going to grow to what, 5/5? So we make another construct, we go fetch another artifact. So if we're going to use this lightning bolt, we're going to have to use it this turn, which turns off the Dragon Age channel that we've just drawn. We won't be able to deploy that this turn. We are Brainstorm locked. A lot kind of going wrong for Travis here, but not the end. You know what I mean? We can shuffle.
Yeah, you could also see something like a Staff of the Storyteller that could pump up the sagas as well. I guess we've already seen 2 of those gone for Chad, but yeah, just like you said, on the board, it's really going to be really hard to keep up with these constructs. We see a Ponder here and a Shuffle. Again, Travis really looking for something like a Delver of Secrets or a Channeler to at least start to put some kind of pressure. But even then, Chad's at 19. You could take 3 or 4 hits from a Delver of Secrets and be totally fine with that.
We shuffled, we drew ourselves a daze for the turn. Remember, Travis and Jordan on the right of our screen, they both need the W's to get their team into that top 8. They did get paired down at 5-1, but over on the left with Theo, Connor, and Chad, they just need one of these games, either Jeskai Breach to win or this Breakfast deck to win, and they get themselves, we think, if the math breaks right, that they enter themselves into the top 8.
And Will, you know what's even better than 2 constructs, potentially 3? How about 5? There's another copy of Urza Saga picked up here for Chad.
It's a good card. It's a good card. Okay, let's see what that card is, because I don't know what that
Shuko. That's the equipment that it has no text other than equip for 0. We are going to see the combo. We're going to see if Travis. I don't believe I saw Force of Will. I think surgical.
Surgical, right?
Ooh, we could get into an interesting spot here, Will. So if Chad goes for the combo, right? What's going to happen is Chad would. I'm going to take a look at the deck list to make sure I'm not missing anything. But hypothetically, if Chad mills out the entire deck and Surgical Extraction takes out Narcomoeba, I think that might actually be a way for Travis to win.
Oh, I'm here
Potentially.
for that. I'm here for that. I love it.
Unless
But
I'm
yeah,
missing something, because I didn't see a counterspell in Chad's hand.
okay, so here's the first 3, and it looks like we're doing it.
So we're going to go a
Oh,
little bit at a time. And the reason you would do this is because let's say you get through like half of your deck and you find a copy of Cabal Therapy. That's really what you want to do, because if the Cabal Therapy is in the top half of your deck, there's the Cabal Therapy. We can actually cast that, do a check for Surgical Extraction, and then if Surgical is not there, then we can actually just continue the combo fully.
I love it. That is very well presented and fully understandable, my friend. Thank you very much. I now know what is going on. So we're just stopping there and getting
Yeah.
in.
Just go beatdowns. And there's also a good point. Yeah, so the Surgical Extraction, that's true. There are 3 creatures in play, but the Surgical could actually go after either the Dread Return or the Fastest Oracle. But it looks like we're not going to go for the full combo. We're just going to go for the Therapy and see if the coast is clear. That does make a lot of sense.
So do you fire off the surgical here and try and hit something, or are you just letting them? No, we're just letting them look at the hand. This is my hand.
Yeah. All
GG's,
right.
and that is going to be take out. Chad manages to take it down and get their team to a 5-1-1 and potentially into that top 8. Commiserations to Owen, Jordan, and Travis. Dropping them down to 5-2. We don't think that's enough. It might be able to squeak in. We'll see, but we're going to move ourselves back to the booth, show you our beautiful face for the weekend. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you just tune in, my name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as Will Hall EXP. That is Devin Donnelly. He is better known on the internet as Doom Wake, and we will be bringing you the NRG Series 10K team event this weekend. We started with 92 teams, and we're going to be able to whittle it down to those top 8. So we're going to set the math break and the tie. We're going to looks like we're going to go to some ads. So we're going to start showing you what's the future events, what's coming up on the series. Maybe you want to start playing in these, getting yourselves to the some more points on the screen, try and get yourself to the end of year final $25,000 tournament with not only a re-invite to it, but also a PC invite to it. And you're going to have to go to these ones. So the next one we've got is in Detroit in August. That is a 10K for Modern on the Saturday and a Pioneer trial on the Sunday. Gotta love it. A lot of Modern people love seeing it. Let's see what we've got the month after that or the next event. That is going to be in Indianapolis. I've never been to these places. Talk to me about it. Are these nice places, Donnie? Obviously, you got to say yes. We're on the internet, but it's these.
I've never actually been.
Oh, okay. Like, I love it. I would love this. I would love to travel to these if I was over stateside, but unfortunately, I'm not. Obviously, my cute British accent gives that away. But this is going to be happening on the 14th and 15th of October, and again, that's a Pioneer and another team event. A lot of team events going down, and both 10Ks. Gotta love it. And then going to our last one, but not least, in Madison. I don't even know where Madison is. That just sounds like someone's first name to me, but I'm sure it's a lovely place over in America. And that is going to be in November 25th, 26th. I believe. Is that Thanksgiving? Sort of
It is, yeah. Thanksgiving weekend.
See, I know a little bit that's going on in the world,
A
and
little
that's
bit.
going to be a Modern showdown on the Saturday, another 10K, and then a 5K Pioneer on there. But they're going to be they're all battling out. Obviously, the nice thing that NRG do in the series is you can win tokens made of your likeness. And this is a huge thing. I love a token, like especially when it's of my likeness. And we see here, probably about 6 weeks ago, I would have said maybe the most played or at least sought after token in Magic. Obviously, I think Treasure Token kind of just pips it a little bit of most played, but look how cool that is. That's for life. No matter if you stop playing tomorrow, you'll be able to talk about this in 10 years' time. Yeah, I got these tokens made, and this is that. Have you ever had a token made of your likeness?
No, I wish though. I gotta get out to one of these NRG events.
Oh, now I've got actually the obvious question. What token would you be?
Oh, Rhino token, hands down, not even close.
Oh,
You don't even have to
okay.
ask me.
Well, I've got to ask Chat, what would you be? I'd be a goat token, apparently, in 901, but that's taken by Brad, right? Brad's always got to be the goat token. I've seen that one. I think I would be a soldier token just because it lines up really well, right? Like, that's literally my day job. So if I could be a soldier token, I think it'd be pretty cool. But this is what players are kind of playing for. They're getting the likeness as a team event. I like a Goblin Shaman token. Gotta love it. And this is the prizes they're playing for this weekend. I'm going to pass it off to you. What are they playing for?
First place, $3,000 and 30 points. Second place, 1,500. Third, fourth, 11, 10. Fifth through eighth, 570. Ninth through 12, 250. And all of those leaderboard points, those are kind of what the players are playing towards the end of the season championship. We're going to go ahead and see if we can take a look at the current leaderboard here. We'll actually see the players that are already qualified. It's going to be 16 players vying it out. And you see Roger Slayman, Stephen Dykeman, Daniel Weiser, and Matthew Hoey. These are the already qualified players for the $25,000 prize championship at the end of the year. And if we can go ahead and take a look at the current standings, here we go. We got Steven Dykman just absolutely destroying every single tournament that we've had so far. You see the players in yellow are currently already qualified. And we have a few players on this leaderboard who are potentially in our top 8 this weekend. Those points are just really, really important for all of these players as they vie for that end of the season championship.
It gives me that vibe of the old, like, the point system that we used to have in like GPs in sort of Pro Magic. You just grinding for every possible point. That 1 point could be the difference between being, platinum, gold, silver, etc., getting the PT invites. And that is what's on the line for the top 16 that get to qualify for the end of the year tournament. It is going to be a 25k cash event. You manage to take that down, you win yourself a big chunk of money and a re-invite. But more importantly, a direct invite to the Pro Tour, which obviously now Paper Magic is back. The Pro Tour is back. We've got one coming up real soon. We've got some people that are working on that in the chat, and I can't tell you how hyped I'm for that. A Lord of the Rings, modern Pro Tour, Paper Magic, sign me up all day long. And that is what people are playing for. So this is our beautiful faces. Welcome back to the booth. We're going to take a short little break where we kind of work out who's going to be in the top 8, see the tiebreakers, and we'll bring it all to you real shortly. So just make sure you stick around. I'll speak to you all soon.